Howdy doody. Welcome along to what is a rainy day in September. It's about mid-September. I don't know what date it is. I don't really care these days. It was late last week when I got an email off a company asking if I'd like to work with them and review some of the stuff they had. They gave me a link to the website, so I went over and had a look and thought, oh yes, wow, because they sell a massive range of stuff, you know, for home workshop, for gardening, for everything really. And I didn't really know what they wanted me to look at for them, so I just messaged them back saying, yeah, you've got some great stuff. I'd love to review something for you. Is there anything in particular? So they emailed me back and said, yeah, would like you to do a review on this for us. When I clicked the link and had a look, it was this, a propane melting furnace. And I thought, how cool, because I bought a crucible about 5 or 6 years ago. It's still in my kitchen in the cupboard because I put it into the oven to kind of cure it. I pulled it out the oven, I put it into the cupboard, and it's still there gathering dust because I still haven't got around to building like a forge. And I did go ahead and melt some brass, because I don't know if you remember, I cast this skull for a dagger guard, which I didn't like, so we trashed that. But I still haven't built that furnace. So when they said, will you review this, I thought, absolutely brilliant. It's just what I need, you know. So it's Wednesday today, and it was only Monday 2 days ago when I said yes, and I agreed to review this for them, and I sent them the address, and it has arrived today. So within 2 days this came, which is, if that's any indication how good they are at sending stuff out, I'm really impressed. It was here this morning, so like a day and a half really. But anyway, I'm waffling on. Let's get this open and have a look what's inside. I'm just going to get my take on it. I'm just going to give an absolutely honest, unbiased review on it. If I think it's rubbish, I will tell you. But I'm hoping it's going to be just what I need. Let's have a look. I can't wait to see it here. I've had this since now lunch. Well, it's after lunch. I've had this since this morning, and I didn't really want to open it, so I wanted to share with you what's inside. So there we are, instruction manual. We may refer to that if it's not basically straightforward. Right, so there we have the kind of regulator and hose. So it's a 30 psi regulator, which has got a nice, just a twist on, twist off thread to connect to the propane bottle. So yeah, that's a nice touch, that, because it saves you messing about with a spanner, because they're awkward to get into on the tops of propane bottles. And that's obviously the connection to the burner. That looks like the burner shroud. What we've got there is possibly a handle for the lid. Burner shroud. Right, so there's the lid, for which the handle is for. A little brush. I've got some refractory cement there, and I guess that would be to line the cow wool with, which is what the furnace is covered in. There's a pair of tongs. Now what you do need for when you're melting brass and copper and things, what you do need, you need specialised tongs to hold the crucible. So there's the crucible. Which is a really nice size, that. If you fill that with molten brass, you'd have a lot of brass. I know that. There's a little regulator there. Yeah, that's a nice crucible. Which is the actual furnace itself. So you've got a piece of what looks like vermiculite in there, but actually saying no, it's a ceramic stone. That it's some kind of ceramic stone. So that will be for the base of the crucible, the base of the furnace. That will be to stand your crucible on. If you don't have something like that, your crucible is going to stick to the cowl wall and you'll end up lifting it all out. This cowl wall does need covering because as it gets hot, it will sort of let go of the fibres, will let go, and you'll end up with the fibres in the air, which this ceramic wool is not good to breathe in. What's this? So this is a kind of little tap, regulating tap, and that, yeah, it's just a very, very simple little burner valve, isn't it? So that obviously just fits into there. Yes, yes, yes. There is a line on there, a little red line, which obviously I would say goes to just to there. Yeah, it does, because that the front of that burner is just in the neck of the actual forge. So there's a little lid, which looks, that is a really, really neat little crucible, isn't it? So, in order to get this working, what I'm going to have to do, I think the very first job will be to get that refractory cement mixed up with some water, get this whole load of cowl wool coated, including the lid and that hole in the top, to reduce the amount of fibres that will get airborne. And during that time I'll connect up this burner to the propane and I'll give it a test run, see how it works. I'm just trying out the burner and the connector and the gauge or the regulator or the fitting. Turn the gas on. It's really easy with that, by the way, to get that on. You're not messing about with a spanner. Just put a bit of soapy around there. No leaks whatsoever there. Try this one. And I just nip that up finger tight with a spanner. There's no leaks there anywhere around them valves, nothing. So that's good, right off the bat. Really good. So that's gas on. Let's turn that on. Let's back that off. Yeah, so you can, I've had these little regulators before where they're just either on or off. There's nothing in between, but that one does regulate the pressure coming out the end of this. I haven't coated this yet, but I've got the forge outside, so I'm not breathing in all those fibres, Let's try that. Yeah, that seems to work, no problem guys, as I thought. Right, so I will now get that refractory coating put on there. Let's get this refractory mixed up. It does say the ratio is 10:3, so that'll be 10 parts refractory to 3 parts water. Stir it into a paste and allow 12 hours, which seems reasonable enough, but I do know the refractory wants to be dry before you put any serious heat on it, because it also kind of needs to cure on the woolen blanket. So we have got almost a kilo of refractory there. 240... 307 grams, I'll do. Water in. And all the associated debris that came from the water barrel outside. Turn the scale off. And stir away. We're going to use all of that, by the way, absolutely all of that. Yeah, see what I mean? It picks up the fibres. It's not easy to apply this stuff onto a wool blanket, but let's just put a big thick coating of it on. Just wondering if it's worth me going getting a trowel. to try and spread it. Yeah, the trowel is nice, so look at that. So a trowel pushes it in and does not lift it up again. I found my little pointing trowel. I had that about 30 years, that little pointing trowel. Right, let's try this. Oh yes, perfect, absolutely perfect. So that's the way I'm going to do it. Get rid of the brush, just spoon it on with the trowel and spread it out. I should have probably started at the bottom, and I would have done if I hadn't been doing this for the camera, but you wouldn't have been able to see anything with my big stupid hand stuck inside there, would you? Right, I'll crack on. I got it all on, and I used up every little tiny bit of the refractory. I've just realised as I've finished using it, I didn't quite coat the inside of this. I don't kind of want to try and drag it off there, so I've just mixed up a little bit of the Satanite I've got, Satanite powder. So I'm just going to run the Satanite around there. Because the Satanite is just kind of a paste, like a real clay paste, it goes on so much better because it hasn't got all that grit, and it just tends to bond to the surface a lot easier. So if you do struggle, you know, putting refractory, if you get one of these, then you know it might be worth buying some of this Satanite if you can get hold of it. Forge is done inside. You do want to start at the bottom of this, because as you're working at the bottom, if you touch these sides once the refractory on, it just pulls it off, because the fibre is so, you know, it's so delicate, the fibre, when it's wet. So you tend to pull lumps of the refractory off, but there is barely enough refractory to do this, but there is enough, you know, as you can see. So I've done it all with the trowel. I think if I'd used the brush, it would have had to have been just so much wetter in order to get an even coat on this. The mixing ratio is about right, but I would do like I did and apply it with a trowel. I've resurrected my old crucible I bought, which like still hasn't been used. You can see the size difference, it's absolutely massive compared to that one. I mean, in all reality, I will never use even half of that filled with brass or bronze or copper anyway. I suppose that's more handy if you've got a lot of stuff you want to melt down, like aluminium. You can get more in the crucible. Now I've looked in the catalogue, the little booklet you get with it, and it does actually show them putting the crucible in the forge with those tongs. Well, I would not recommend doing that, because when this thing is up to temperature, there'll be depending on how much brass or whatever you melt, there'll be a fair amount of weight on that, and that is not good holding that crucible on that lip, because it's very, very likely to just break a chunk off there. If that hits the floor, it will break. You'll have molten brass and whatever all over the floor. So I'm going to make a couple of tools to lift this. I will use them. They're not a bad set of little tongs, them. I will probably just use them for when I'm heat treating knives and such. So yeah, they will come in really handy. I've rooted out this old scrap of pipe I had, so I've cut a strip off about 1 inch wide. Whatever the name is for the tool that you use for pouring the molten metal, I'm going to make one of them as well using the same method. So I'm going to go and make this first. I've just knocked up these rough and ready sort of lifting tongs from a bit of rebar, so they're just dead simple to make. Just flatten out a section in the centre there, like so, like in the rebar. You just flatten out a centre, and I've just driven an M6 6mm bolt through and peened it over on the back, and that'll do. So all I'm going to do, guys, is weld that to that, and then I've got my lifting tongs, which are much easier to get in and out then. When I've lifted it out, I'm going to drop it into this here contraption here that I made yesterday. So that is again another ring, another piece off the and I've just made that little simple kind of stop there, so that when I'm pouring I can completely empty the crucible out, because you're not meant to leave any metal in the crucible when you finish casting. So this was really simple to make. It took me about an hour maybe. Again, as I say, it's just that ring. of pipe, and I put a cut in it, and I sized it so it, you know, you've seen where it sits on the pot, so it sits about there because these pots are slightly tapered. And then I welded it up, and then I just put this long arm on it, bit of pipe on the back to grip that bit of steel there, just as a tipping aid. And then this thing mechanism is just simply a bit of flat plate with a nut and bolt through there, and it's just connected to that one there, which is simply a little bit of mild steel cut with that piece on the end, and then I just twisted it in the vise. So do you get what I mean? I just put it in the vise and twisted it so that it forms like that thumb latch type thing, you get me. And then again just put the wire through there. So that's it. What I did with that to shape it a little bit, you can see it's, come on camera, you can see that's probably tapered like that. What I did, I put it on the horn of the anvil and I beat on this side here a couple of times. I went round twice and I beat the anvil, and what it did, it flared that side out, so it pushed the metal out, so it's got a nice flare and it just takes the crucible much better. As I say, that's just to lock it in place because I don't want the crucible falling out. So we're set up, we're ready to cast. I have just worked out how this can be turned into a little heat treating oven. So if you're just getting going on knife making, this will make an incredible controllable heat treat oven with, you know, temperature control. You can hold this, I think, I've not tried it yet, but once this is fired, I think this will hold at any temperature you want it to. I've welded those two little collars on there, so I'm going to be able to drop that in the forge, lift it out, drop it on there, lift that up, lock that on and pour. The time has arrived and it's raining again, surprisingly enough. So I've had the crucible in the oven for about 3 hours at about 200 degrees, 250 degrees, just to drive out any moisture from it. Because if there's any moisture in it, it'll explode when it gets up to temperature. I did fire the forge up last night just for about 2 or 3 minutes. Just put a bit of heat in to just cure that refractory stuff, let it sit overnight. And today I'm going to melt some copper and solder to make a tin bronze. So lead-free solder is 99 point something % tin. I think there's a bit of zinc in it or something like that. So I'm going to be using 12% of the solder and 88% of the copper. Before I do this smelt, guys, I just wanted to show you this, because this, I've figured out how this will make a really good little effective heat treating oven for knife makers. So I've measured the distance front to back inside. It's about 12, you probably get a 14-inch blade in total. You'll comfortably get a 12-inch overall knife in there. You take the lid off and all you need to do is set up some fire bricks such as this to make a little entrance which lines up with the bottom, so you can just slip your knife inside there. And then you can close these up, or, you know, adjust them to the amount of opening. I'd probably say about there is right, with about 1.5 inch gap there. Now, the burner as it stands is not adjustable, but I've discovered that with a simple modification this is really adjustable. So what I've done, I've just found that a piece of 1-inch internal diameter copper pipe slips over the air intake, and when you slip that over, the further down you go, the less oxygen gets pulled in with the propane, which gives it a really lean flame inside the forge. It also reduces the temperature because it's not got that fierce blue flame going inside, so it reduces the temperature of the flame a lot. You can also control the flame with this little lever, so you can reduce it, get it higher. I think that will hold the temperature, that little burner. I haven't tried it yet, but if you want me to test this out to use it as a heat treating forge, I will do. I probably will do anyway, but if you want me to film it and show you the results, I will. I'll put a thermocouple in here, I'll monitor the temperature. I'm damn sure that will hold at sort of 800 degrees for as long as I want it to. Yeah, if you're interested in this, let me know and I'll film what I do with this as regards turning it into a heat treating oven. I mean, for a heat treating oven, you've got everything here. All you need is a few fire bricks and a little piece of copper, and you're ready to heat treat knives. I mean, that is dirt cheap. Right, let's get onto this melt. I chipped the corners off the tile with a hammer, just because it makes it so much easier to get in and out, and you're not damaging the refractory lining either for doing that. I'll just get the crucible. Okay, let's do this. Gas on, gas off there. Got it by the doorway. Keep the fumes down in here. Stopwatch running. It's been about 4 minutes and the crucible is already really hot. There's all my copper. I'm in a tin. I'm going to start dropping this in. It's taken 9 minutes, guys, for the copper and the tin to melt. It's all bubbling away in there. Just got my little pouring ring. I'm going to pour the copper into that. I've got to scrape some dross off the top. I can't find the spoon I had, so I've got a little bit of bent metal there which I'm going to use. I'm just going to use that to scrape any dross off. Add a little bit of borax. Which will also help any dross settle to the top. That looks to me it's pretty clean. Put that back in and just melt off that bit of bronze that's in there. It's pouring down outside. I'll bring you back when they've cured. I've hardened off a bit. I'll dunk them in water. Let me show you this, guys. It stuck to the tin because it was really little thin tin, which I pretty much realised it would do. But I just ground the tin off. What a beautiful, beautiful colour that is. Isn't it stunning? Hey? So there you go, tin bronze. But what my plan is really is to make some sand moulds. So, you know, make them out of green sand, and then I can actually cast the guard with a slight slot in the middle and more of a shape rather than, you know, grinding and cutting that whole block away. So I will be casting the guards to a more guard shape with the finger guard and the top guard already sort of slightly oversized, but yeah, guys, it does what it says on the tin, and I absolutely love that. There we go. That is the Vevor forge. Would I buy it? Yes, I would buy it. I would buy it because it's not a lot of money for what you get in there. You're getting a crucible, pair of tongs, you're getting the jet, the gas pipe. There's about 2 meters, 6'6" of gas pipe, so it's a really useful length of pipe. You get in the stainless steel forge, the lining, the base for the crucible to stand, and you've just got really everything you need there to start smelting. You just need some gas and you're ready to go. Well, I would recommend though making those crucible, those lifting tongs and those pouring tongs. The last time, you know, previous times when I've messed and faffed about melting brass and bronze and things like that, I usually do them in my forge, but it's just such a faff doing it, messing about with tongs, trying to hold homemade little tiny crucibles that I've melted things in. But you saw from that was just so quick, safe and easy to do, and it produced that beautiful tin bronze casting, which I absolutely love the colour of that. I think it's beautiful. Now I'm going to, I think I might have already said, I'm going to cast some brass and aluminium, which is another alloy, just to see what, because it's more that, actually what I've seen, it looks more like pure gold. So I'm going to cast another block of that, clean it up, and then I'll bring you back on another video and I can show you the colour comparisons between that and the brass aluminium casting. Right, so if you want me to do another video on turning that into a heat treating oven, little gas oven, I will do. I use gas for my heat treating myself, so I know it works. I know it's absolutely brilliant. Even though I've got an electric oven, I prefer the gas oven because the gas oven heats up so much quicker. You saw that was up to temperature in about 4 or 5 minutes, and then you're heat treating. You're not waiting half an hour for the oven to warm up. And it will be controllable. I think it will be. 99% certain I can control the temperature in that little forge to heat treat knives. But I'm going to do it anyway. If you want me to do it, just give me a shout in the comments. Just say yes or whatever. It's a lot of faff filming, guys. If you've done it yourself, you'll know. Setting up cameras, editing, all the other stuff. So people send you stuff like this. Yeah, I know it's for free, but there'll be a day's work goes into like the filming and editing and shifting cameras and getting lighting right and everything, this, that and the other. It's a lot of faff, but it's what we do, isn't it? Right, thank you to my patrons, for whom I am going to do some probably brass or bronze castings for a giveaway coming up soon. So that's very apt, the fact that came along at the moment. And I will see you quite soon, guys. Alright, bye for now.